this is a very squishy lineup on black and yellow so
Yeah.
far, especially if this is going to be an off-lane Venge. We've seen it played in the 4 position before as well, but this is almost a complete role reversal of what No Ping was able to get together in the second game of their Hustlers series, because every single member of the No Ping lineup in that previous game was tanky, was self-reliant. They had lifesteal, they had ways to get their HP pull back. On black and yellow, sure, you got the Bane, but Lean Avenge, you are paper thin if they can get on top of you.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe there's a little bit of save with the Bane and the Venge, but not enough where you'd feel too comfortable relying on that every single time. That is going to help. The Lifestealer getting picked up by black and yellow, that gives you someone quite a bit less susceptible to some of that lockdown. Obviously, maybe the Clockwork could still sort of hook in through the Rage, but they have... I mean, I'm almost hesitant to say they have their sort of frontline hero. You would prefer the Lifestealer maybe not be the first one in anyway, but someone who's at least going to be able to soak up a little bit of attention so that Lina and Venge aren't the frontliners.
And Venge, as it looks a little bit alien with the previous picks up here, but if Black and Yellow can pick up a true frontliner in their last pick here, I'm guessing D2 Hustlers are going to ban out offlaners next, assuming this is going to be a Lina in the mid position, which does make a lot of sense. Lifestealer is a very nice pseudo frontliner, especially if this Lina does end up getting jumped by that Clockwork. If you can get in between the Clockwork and the Lina, possibly infest her, just get her at that little bit higher HP pool, this hero can definitely be obnoxious in those jumps. The only thing I'm still missing from Black and Yellow, though, is they don't have a true playmaker on their team. Of course, Bane is the catalyst for the play. Once you get level 6, you get to walk around the map with a 3-second stun. That feels amazing. But I also don't feel like they have very much lockdown, and now they're playing versus a Storm Spirit, in which case none of their heroes are going to feel fantastic versus, and a hero that we usually see banned out whenever this Lina is first phase for this exact reason. Of course, the lane is not fantastic for Storm Spirit, but once you get actually into the game, once Storm has enough mana to actually find you in those backlines, Lina is one of those heroes that doesn't really like to build Yules anymore, even though, of course, you still can. But you want to get BKB, you want to get crit, and you want to hit things. And Storm Spirit, you can't really hit them right now.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, the lockdown, black and yellow technically have it, but not in a manner that actually helps them really stop the storm. Alina has to land the LSA with a storm zipping around. The Venge has to throw the projectile out. The Bane obviously needs to be in position for things like the Nightmare and the Fiend Script. So theoretical lockdown doesn't quite transfer over if you're trying to actually get that Storm Spirit. In terms of the other heroes, sure, maybe it's going to be a little bit more useful, but they really will have trouble unless that Lina just absolutely kind of dumpsters the Storm in the lane. But even in that case, as you mentioned, once you get out of the laning stage, the Storm Spirit's going to be able to catch up. They'll probably stack for him. He can just use those remnants to really flash farm effectively. So you can get off to a strong start, but you're never going to be able to keep this Storm Spirit entirely down, and how they deal with that around that mid-game stage could very well dictate what the game looks like for black and yellow throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and it looks like Hustlers are calling that there is going to be a Venge offlane. Of course, it makes sense. We've seen Venge slotted into that position more or less by everybody else in the Dota world, as well as it's not that true offlaner that I'm still looking for from them, but this will allow them to now find some more lockdown, some true lockdown in their 4 position, hopefully. We could very well see a hero like the Tusk coming out. We could see maybe the Earthshaker, another very good hero to just catch them off guard. Because right now, I feel like if we get into a very basic engagement, I think Hustlers are going to run around the Lifestealer, maybe hit him up with that Viper Strike, just kite him around, and then focus on everyone else.
Oh,
And I like this pick a lot. I like this Spirit Breaker a ton, actually. This is a really good pick.
not exactly what I would have expected, but the Spirit Breaker, I don't know. It's been picked up a couple more times. I remember specifically LGD over in their last appearance, sort of throwing that Spirit Breaker out there in... I don't even want to say unexpected circumstances. They've just sort of run it in a position where a lot more people have a lot more respect for this hero. Now black and yellow are going to look to make it happen. D2 Hustlers, meanwhile, running out of time. They do get the last pick in, and they get the Morphling with that final selection.
Yep, classic Yuma hero, as well as one of the best heroes into Lifestealer. You become him, you suddenly have Rage. A raged Morphling is not something you really want to deal with, and I do still like the Spirit Breaker, but this Morphling has made it feel a little bit worse. This Morphling, again, has another target that he can become. A charged Morphling with Bulldoze running through your entire team is not something you want to deal with. Unfortunately, you are still picking it into the Lena. Really, Esk will have a lot of opportunities to come to that Morphling's lane, especially in those early phases where you don't have that many stats to work with. But the timer right now for Black and Yellow is if Yuma can get Scotty, the game is over. I think at that point, that's when the game becomes so impossibly hard for you. It's where your Lena can no longer find a place in these team fights. Once that is online, the team fights basically become impossible. Or on the Black and Yellow side, they need to have really fast BKB timing on this Lena, or maybe you want to wait for the Yules, either of those items, and then you need to play heavily into the enemy team's jungle. If you can lock out the Morph from the Storm from their jungle, then I think Black and Yellow with these heroes can actually play with a high enough tempo where they might be able to try and roll their enemies, especially with a hero like the Spirit Breaker and the Bane. Those are roll you heroes. The problem being, if they ever fall behind, there is no recovery method. SP's a little bit better at farming now, but Bane, if you fall behind on levels, you get your levels through killing. If your killing is failing, then you just don't become a hero. You stop existing at that point. So it's really going to be a tempo game for, I think, both sides.
Yeah, that is the double-edged sword, so to speak, for those types of heroes. When they work, you look like a genius. When they don't work, you just get kind of completely destroyed. So we'll have to see if it pays off. No risk, no reward, as the saying goes, or maybe it doesn't. I might have just made it up. Either way, they're going to try to run it. We'll see if Black and Yellow can get their first points of the group stage in their first appearance, or if D2 Hustlers are going to be able to get themselves their second win of this campaign. So starting things off with a little bit of warding in the middle lane, although the Bane, that's very unfortunate. Immediately gets his own ward spotted out, and Mr. Jeans will take it down.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think a lot of people try to get that word out up and ahead. Unfortunately, it is the maybe you could say the radiant advantage there. Is Jube? He's 350 move speed. He started with boots, so it's unfortunate that he was unable to place his ward beforehand because he had a sentry too. He was planning to make the exact same play, and he actually doesn't have any regen. He's gonna need to buy tangos and send them out on the bounty runes here. Otherwise, he's just going to be trying to trade up versus the Viper and the ES with really not that much gas in the tank.
Yeah, and now Jubei can't really get overly involved maybe for the fight on this rune. If he takes too much damage, then it's just going to be sort of permanently, or not permanently, but significantly pushed out of the lane. But Yamsun trying to make it out himself. Good kick, though. Tavai not taking any chances. Why bother? You can just kick him away, guarantee that rune, and then walk away like a cool guy. So nicely played by the Earth Spirit. And now, very interested to see what Divide does in this lane. He starts out with the Orb of Venom, so you have to assume he's going to try to play up here. And between that, his own harassment and the Orb of Venom, and laning up against the Viper, well, this could be a scenario in which Yamsun maybe isn't in any danger of getting taken down, but he's at least going to have to be careful of a lot of sort of DOT coming his way.
Yeah, and while I think Jug is definitely worse for the Viper, this is still a very annoying lane at those early levels. Of course, Viper feels the strongest at level 3 when you do get a few more points up, as well as Monster opting for the Poison attack level 1 as opposed to getting that level 1 Nether Toxin and just pushing in the wave, trying to get as many levels as possible. But they're playing this straight. Devi, starting with this Oov, means that he isn't able to cut those creep waves. We're seeing a much different playstyle in the top lane than I think a lot of higher level teams maybe would go for if they were swapped with some different players. But Jube
getting slowed up there. Poison attacks coming through. And I think that last one might have been it. DOT. Okay, one more for good measure. Why not? Monster able to secure first blood, and Yamsun, level 2 lifestealer. What is he supposed to do about that, really? He just got to sit there and watch his teammate go down, and, well, said, with the Orb of Venom, laning up with the Viper, maybe they look to get aggressive. That's pretty damn aggressive, and so is this. Nice push forward with the roll, the kickback onto Yamsun as well. He is going to pop the Rage to remove those stacks on him, and that may just be enough to keep him up and running, but Devi Lama does not have to commit a whole hell of a lot to make that play happen.
Yeah, and it really is the kickback that's very, very obnoxious with that the Lifestealer has to deal with. You have to be so careful, and that again brings it back to me where are these boots going to allow Jubei to really shut Devi out from doing his job here? We're going to need to see Jubei get more active on, I think, the runes to really justify this purpose, because right now it's not feeling too great. Yeah, and bottom.
Yuma and Yodomi able to push in onto Zero. Tower shot will get a return kill, so Boris is going to get a little bit, but back up top. Jubei is going to get run down. Same play for Monster and Devi, so turning into a 2-for-1 trade across the map, and, well, that one actually felt a little bit weird down bot. Yuma doesn't even have a point in the waveform, so they were just really so far ahead in terms of their positioning and their damage output that they felt okay going for that. Yodomi with the level 2 has the power cogs for the trap, and
Oh, well, this is a disaster on
Oh,
top
man.
lane.
Yamson has to TP home all the way back to the fountain. If he TPs to the tower, the DOT might have still done him in, so he's got to go all the way back, but now it's walk of shame time. He's got to walk all the way back top, and that is going to take a substantial amount of time. So this top lane for D2 Hustlers, they've gotten just about everything they wanted, and now Mr. Jeans even getting a little bit of a boost up from Divine Llama as the Earth Spirit made his way mid to refill that bottle. And now, what is going on down bot? Yuma, yeah, playing a little bit dangerously there. He is sort of fluctuating with those stats, but I think at this point he realizes Boris really can't do a whole lot. That charge isn't coming back up anytime soon, so feels okay, kind of messing with his stat numbers there.
Yeah, all you need to be careful of is, yeah, I was going to
That.
say Zero getting clipped by the Wave of Terror, but Yuma, very, very, very smart, walks all the way back underneath this tower, doesn't even give it a chance over to the black and yellow side, but it's still a little bit unfortunate because, again, until this Alina gets involved, Yuma doesn't have any threat. Of course, nice little pull there from Boris to be a little bit annoying, but I don't think there's any way that they actually kill this Morphling. It's much easier to play on top of that Clockwork, but it's still going to feel like a struggle.
What a weird scenario there. You drop down the cogs. It doesn't actually cancel the charge, but Boris ends up inside of the cogs while Yodomi is the one outside of it.
Oh.
The world's been turned upside down, but now Boris, he's going to get trapped up. Cogs come through. Good play from Yodomi. Does he have the damage, though? Maybe not by himself, but here comes Yuma, pushing his way over. But again, no waveform, so he can't really close that gap. So it's really just going to be down to the clock to try and make this happen by himself. I don't really know if he can do this. He does have a couple of stick charges. Maybe that gets the battery assault up in time, but the move speed just isn't there. So long chase, not going to be able to close the gap in time, but I suppose you push the Spirit Breaker out of lane for quite some time, and you leave Yuma in a 1v1 against Zero.
Yeah, and a 1v1 that Yuma will be losing for the time being just because Zero is a little bit higher up, just ahead of the exchange a little bit when it came to his regen, where Yuma needs to be a little bit cautious. He opted for the very greedy mask, so he's going to morph all the way down, probably stick, and then morph all the way back up.
And there's going to be the tried and true for the Clockwork, being as annoying as possible. Zero dropping very low, but he survives long enough to get off the stun, and now Boris, yeah, one more hit. That a little overconfident for Yodomi there. I mean, we have the benefit of seeing the entirety of the map, but really it kind of felt like the only reason Zero would be sticking around in a random 1v1 against the Clockwork is if he had reinforcements coming, and Clock doesn't realize that until it's too late, so black and yellow able to put a kill on the board. Meanwhile, this charge is not finishing. Yeah, Boris calls it quits well before he would have made contact, but that does get him mid. Just in time to maybe help out his teammate, as Esk was jumped in on momentarily, but Mr. Jeans quickly bailing out of that one. But the fight is going to keep on going. Boris is pushing into the river. They're going to try and fight over a rune that actually doesn't spawn, but Boris wants to keep going. Charge comes in. Mr. Jeans going to get hit up. No mana left to work with. And honestly, I think they've got him here. They need one more. There it is. One more hit. Boris even gets the bash for good measure. And Mr. Jeans will be taken down. Good news, though, for D2 Hustlers is that Yuma was able to find himself a kill on the other side of the map, taking down the Venge. But that is going to be a 1-for-1 in which D2 Hustlers end up losing their mid laner top lane. Moving on to the Viper. Jubei rotating in. Boris is here. Monster doesn't have much in the way of backup. He has no points up in the Nether Toxin either, so he's just got to stand his ground. He gets Boris at least. Okay. Makes it some sort of trade-off, but we are starting to see a little bit more activity from that black and yellow side, starting to really move those supports around, and they haven't quite eclipsed their opponents yet in terms of the kill count or the net worth, but more and more plays sort of going, if not directly in their favor, at least looking more and more winnable for them.
And that's where they really need to start punishing this Viper a little bit more. And
Ooh.
ooh, good silence, but
Jumping in onto S. Do they have the damage? Devi tries to roll. It gets canceled by the charge, but that's not going to be enough. Yonomi comes in with the battery assault and the cog trap. S will be locked down and finished off. Now Devi doesn't really have any spells left to lock Boris down, but they got the hero they wanted, the more valuable of those two, as Mr. Jeans is able to get a little bit of revenge for that previous death.
yeah, and it's unfortunate because the Lina is one of the best heroes at making that rotation, but yeah,
They want
Zero,
it.
this ward.
Zero has nowhere to go. He's going to get rolled in on. There's the battery assault. Stuns up Yuma, but that delays the death by a few seconds at the most. Yuma's the one to get the kill as well. Killing spree now for your Morphling at about the 8-minute mark. So a lot of momentum into their hands and momentum in general for D2 Hustlers. You take a look, all three of their cores sitting at the top, but it's a bit of a problem. Monster's going to get jumped in on again. We saw this exact same scenario play out before. That DOT, though, yeah, there we go. They need the Infest just to make sure Esk wasn't going to be taken down. That is sort of the difference maker between this fight and the last one. So you get the kill on the Monster, you keep Esk safe, and it is a nice sort of rebuttal from Black and Yellow. As I said before, we're starting to see them maneuvering a little bit more around the map, and plays like that will be the result if they can sort of keep that pressure on.
On Esk. Nice
Jumping
dodge.
onto the Lina, able to get away. The charge is coming. Will it be in time? No, it will not. Esk will go down, and Boris... Oh, he's not level 6. He doesn't have the Nether Strike, so not really sure what they're going to do here. Jubei's coming in. He doesn't really have his ult either, so this is getting a sort of very awkward. As Mr. Jeans, he doesn't have the mana. Charge comes through. Bash hits. Jubei gets the kill, and now Zero... Well, okay, Zero was coming in. Devi Llama is able to roll away, but I think they know where he is. Yeah, they see him now. Zero... I don't think you want to swap because you're swapping into the river, so he's going to hold off on that. And this is going to be the most awkward death we have seen in a while. There we go. As Devi will eventually be run down as Boris gets the charge, and that goes incredibly well for Black and Yellow somehow. They start off by losing Esk, but they're able to get themselves a couple of kills on the backside just by sort of bringing the reinforcements in.
Yeah, the only issue right now is that all of these plays are being made away from the Morphling. You're giving so much time over to Yuma to build himself up in what should be really the Morph's weakest point in the entirety of the game. And you're not getting kills on your cores. It's always the supports cleaning up after the fact, and it's just because they're not really calculating how many heroes they need to bring to a lot of these engagements. That's where Esk, who's going for these boots of travel, is not really been able to farm as much as he otherwise would be. He had that one nice rotation onto Monster in the top lane, but it's just Mr. Jeans who has played, honestly, really solidly this game to really stop any aggression coming out from him. And here's the rune lotto, and Mr. Jeans will win again. Not a very impactful rune for the Storm Spirit, but if he can keep runes in his bottle, that's where we see this hero really feel like one of the best in the game.
And Devi, he is getting charged up in that top lane. Not sure if he's going to be able to sort of roll himself out of this one. He's going to go for it, but Yamsun steps in front of it. Zero's there for the swap into the stun, and the charge actually ends up being unnecessary. The rest of Black and Yellow are able to sort of clean that one up without it, and, well, tying us up in terms of the kill count. Zero's able to get the credit for that one, and we do see the Venge is going straight for that Aghanim Scepter build. So, looking to get that as quickly as possible. The kill is certainly going to help, but it remains favorable for D2 Hustlers in terms of the farm they're finding on their cores. Although, as I say that, Jubei TP's in bot did have the Fiend's Grip, excuse me, but without any backup, that Fiend's Grip's not really going to matter too much. So he's just here to defend the tower instead. It's dropping pretty low, but okay. Gets it into deny range with one last hit from the cart, and then takes it down himself. No gold, or not a significant amount of gold being given over there, but the tower does fall.
Yeah, and it's not the most important tower. It's actually, I think, the first time the offlane's tower has actually been taken this early on into a game. It's just a product of how early Zero had to rotate away from his lane, just giving everything over to Yuma. And Yuma now with the Yasha can just farm his triangle. And that's where we really need to see a pretty hefty rotation from Jubei. He has the Fiend's Grip. Always see him get aggressive. He's got 2 smokes already. You really know what you want to do with this hero pretty quickly. And Udomi, he's trying to sap his level 6 down here. He's going to get it after this creep wave here, but it's one wave of terror, and then they're going to know exactly where the clockwork is playing.
Oh.
Always going to let himself be known.
And Black and Yellow not immediately going in for this one. I think they're just looking for the tower instead. Zero's now going to go looking with that wave, and they actually don't spot him initially. They'll see him now, obviously, but Monster TP's in. We do have the Storm Spirit making his way into the fight as well. Monster may have gone a little bit too early, though. He has very little HP, but they are going to try and make this play happen. Mr. Jeans jumping in, looking for S. Can they bring him down? Yes, they can. Yamsun wasn't able to provide health for long enough with that Infest. So S does go down. The tower, however, ends up falling, so I suppose, technically speaking, Black and Yellow got the objective they wanted, but now they need to make sure everyone gets out of here safely. Boris, however, will not be making it home. He is going to get locked down, and now here comes Mr. Jeans. Used the last of his mana, though, for that zip, and didn't actually get directly onto Jubei, but Yuma is able to wave form forward. They do find that, and now they're in on to the Vengeful Spirit. And Zero, he had pig-pulled himself to try and get that move speed. Unfortunately, that also meant he wasn't able to actually respond when they jumped in onto him, so they lose Monster, they lose their tower, but 4 kills going D2 Hustler's way. So we're going to give up the objective is the mindset on their side, but we're going to make our opponents pay for it heavily.
Yeah, and it's unlucky that Yudomi was unable to connect with his hook shot onto the Lina. I think Monster survives a lot longer there if he's actually able to tank those spells for his teammate, but Regen Rune on Storm Spirit, it's just that simple, and you have so many targets you want to hit here. Jubei. Support tax.
Yeah, they're going to get that kill relatively easily. Esk slowed up, but he's all the way back under his tower at this stage, so it would not really be worth the risk jumping in on. But yeah, that's your support stepping in, eating a smoke gank from the D2 Hustler side. So it's unfortunate that he dies, but if you're Black and Yellow, you will take that, especially considering all their cores are farming. Yamsun was able to get that Maelstrom a little while back. The Lina has the bots and is working towards that BKB pickup, and this was sort of the all-important item, ET, that you were mentioning earlier on. The Lina needs to have that BKB in order to really be at her full potential in some of these mid-game fights.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he's going for this item as early as he needs it, but it goes back to this hero picked in the draft where you need to find someone to eat into, whether or not that's going to be the Morphling or the Viper, because the Storm Spirit is not going to be a target that you're going to be able to hit, and that's where Yuma, already finishing up the Sanjin Yasha, I'm just concerned that this Morphling is already too far gone. You see he's already queued up the Scotty, and if he gets it as fast as he's been farming, this is going to be incredibly problematic for everyone on Black and Yellow, because all it takes is for Yamsun to show for 1 second, the Morphling becomes the Lifestealer, has full rage, and then your entire team will just die. There's no way for you to really play around that at this point, or even Yuma becoming the Earth Spirit. You see he's right next to Devi because it's double Earth Spirit.
Devi rolls in. Oh my god.
Oh, doesn't even need it.
There used to be a Lifestealer here. Used to be. Pretty much gone now. That was just a ridiculous amount of burst potential there. No time really for that rage to come out, and I mean, if Yamsun can get picked off like that, there's really not a whole lot that Black and Yellow are going to be able to do to prevent it. So, big play from Hustlers. They find the kill, they get the tower, and they're still hanging out in this northside jungle. If Jubei shows himself, he is straight dead. There is not going to be a whole lot for the Bane to do to defend himself. The flare is coming in, and now they know, but by this point, Jubei's far enough back where maybe they just focus on the tower instead, and that's exactly what Yuma's doing. There's a charge, though, coming in from Boris, but he would have to charge through basically everyone else on the D2 Hustler side before he even got to the Morphling. So he'll cancel that out. He'll continue the journey on foot. Jubei, meanwhile, gets the Nightmare down onto Mr. Jeans. Removed by Devi Lama, but that buys time for Zero to TP in. They're going to go for the swap. Ooh, Yudomi tried for the hookshot, didn't hit it, but they still go in with Mr. Jeans. He's trying to lock Jubei down as quickly as he can, but the Fiend's Grip still comes through. They need to be able to cancel it. They can't do it in time. Yes, they can. Never mind. Mr. Jeans able to zip away. It does cost Yudomi his life, but he is in there to break up that play, and now Hustlers, they're going to charge forward. Esk blown up there by that nuke combo from Yuma. That leaves Boris in the middle of the engagement. He does manage to take down one before he dies, but it's going to cost him his own life, and Black and Yellow's defense really falls apart. 3 dead on their own side. They get the 2 supports, but no core heroes dead, and a tier 2 tower will fall in that top lane.
And that is all because Yudomi misses that hookshot. If he hits that hookshot, I think it's a 5-0 there, because it just feels like they got everything they wanted. They had the grip onto the Fiend's grip. You weren't able to have that stun last for any amount of time onto Mr. Jeans. If he gets clipped by an LSA there, it is over. You lose your Storm Spirit at the beginning of that fight, and then you have to be so much more scared. But instead, they get to play underneath your tower. That was with them getting actively glyphed as well. Oh, and Boris?
charging his way in, charging through that nether
Well,
toxin. But now,
well.
here comes Mr. Jeans. Jubei doesn't have the Fiend's Grip, so he can throw out the Nightmare. It's just not going to be enough. And now Zero, he actually tried to rotate his way in, not realizing Divine Llama was coming up from the east. They are going to find that. Yodomi, ooh. That's second or third hook shot that hasn't quite connected for him. The good news, though, his team is still definitively taking these fights even without some of those connections. But 2 big kills, and really, I don't know what the best case scenario would have been there. The Spirit Breaker does not and will not have the damage to 1v1 Monster really at any point in this game, so maybe they thought that Zero was going to be able to come in, maybe they thought Esk was a little bit closer, but it just feels like a fight that they probably could have and should have avoided.
Yeah, and you're getting so many items finished up now on the Hustler's side. You're going back for the Orchid on the Storm Spirit, which is a little bit greedy. We'll see if he gets punished for it. But the BKB on the Viper, and again, the Scotty being finished up by Yuma, it just feels like this game is on a little bit of a timer right now. As soon as those items are online, then Roche becomes the objective. Then after Roche, it's going to be your towers under siege, and there's a big opening right now for D2 Hustlers to exploit whenever you don't have that natural glyph. No tier 1 towers to even trade out for at this point, so you're always going to be playing on that 5-minute hard timer, and they're even pinging it out right now. They could probably even do it before the Scotty with how good Viper and Morphling are versus it, and yeah, I think they're just going to walk into the pit.
Meanwhile, Divine Llama says, why buy wards when you can be the ward? He's just going to stand here and basically act as the lookout. If anyone from Black and Yellow comes, he's just going to give his teammates the heads up, and they don't need the Earth Spirit to take Roshan. In fact, they get through that so fast. Roshan already going to be taken down. Yuma actually won't take it. Okay, they give it over to Mr. Jeans instead, and that's about the freest Roche that they're really going to get. So 2 lives up on their Storm Spirit. He is free to just zip into just about any situation he wants to, and right on cue, he's going after Boris, looking for the Spirit Breaker down bot, going to be able to find the kill. Jubei comes in for the Nightmare, doesn't get it off in time, and now just has to TP home.
Yeah, and Uyidomi.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
He's going toe-to-toe with Esk. Where's his backup? Here comes Divide, but the actual core hero is a little bit further behind because Mr. Jeans ran into Yamsun in the south side jungle. So this fight's getting very weird, and it looks like Black and Yellow are going to get everyone away. The Lina TP's out, Yamsun makes it back to the fountain as well, and that is not nearly as bad as it probably could have been. 2 core heroes sort of caught in the line of fire. Both of them are able to make it away, but with 2 of your cores now TP'd back and inside of the base, guaranteed, D2 Hustlers say, let's push for more.
Yeah.
They're going to take out the Straggler. S gets caught, taken down. Mr. Jeans finds the kill. Yamsun, even through the rage, got to be a little bit worried about his HP there as he is falling back, and that's the danger. You get the cores out, but your opponents now know they are off the field for a few more seconds, and they took full advantage of that opening.
And really good vision. Scouting out the Lina there, Esk thought he was fine. Even though you are showing in the same lane as your opponents are getting that tier 2 tower in, but still he thought his teammates would have been able to defend him just a little bit longer. But no BKB, we're not going to see very much coming out. Now Yuma has the Scotty. This is going to become an absolutely miserable game, as well as Yuma even queuing up an Orchid to make Yamsun's life absolutely impossible. Yamsun would have to go for a Satanic at this rate, which of course does not feel fantastic when you're Lifestealer, but there aren't very many options for them. They need to start doing these swap plays pretty much off cooldown. Zero has his Ag, so you're going to be able to throw away your life a little bit more for your allies, but you need to start finding these heroes out of position. If you can play on the Viper, that would be the best, but I think they're really spiraling out of control now.
And you look at this as well, Yodomi, Solar Crest even picked up there just to buff up his teammate that little bit more. So he is just a massive onslaught here coming out from that D2 Hustler side, and here they go. They're going to jump in, they get the silence onto Zero, they're going to try and lock him down. Yodomi this time will connect with the hook, pushing Esk a little bit further forward there with the cogs, and while that distraction was going down, Zero is the one who actually falls. Jubei's now in trouble as well, as Yodomi's going to be able to get that kill, and this fight is just looking so rough. Yamsun has to get away, but there's going to be that Scotty coming into play. Yamsun does make the retreat, but it's not easy for him. And now Esk is in some trouble. Yuma, this is very aggressive. He is not going to go all the way in, though, especially considering the fact that Mr. Jeans did lose that Aegis on the other side. They'll pull it back. They finish off Boris instead, who was sort of the straggler in that engagement, and they get 3 kills for the Aegis. They'll get a tier 2 tower here as well, and You don't have 2 lives anymore, but maybe they just go for the high ground push here anyway. Poke and prod at those defenses. See what black and yellow are actually capable of putting together in terms of holding the line here.
Oh, and Esk actually caught Yuma without getting off the attribute shift, but there's just no follow-up. He has to just sit here. They still have Glyph. They're being very, very patient, and Zero with the swap.
There it is. They've got Monster, but there's the BKB coming out as well, so the Viper's just going to stand and fight. Here comes the Storm onto the backline, but Boris actually hits him up with a charge into the Nether Strike. Mr. Jeans is going to be taken down. Mr. Jean's dead. Jubei and Zero, though, both going to get traded out. Buybacks now coming through as the Bane is back into the engagement. They're going to try to hit up Yuma, but he's already shifting towards strength, so they're not going to be able to take him down easily. And Yuma, he tried to get away, but he swapped back in. And they've got him.
Perfect.
Yuma's dead. This is big. This is exactly what black and yellow needed. They are cleaning everything up as Yudomi and Monster will both fall. And Divine Llama, that's... Wow, okay. I don't know if I support that one. Turns around to dig out a bounty rune, and... He has to die for this, right? Just by the laws of Dota? No. Okay, he's going to get away. That is the greediest play I've seen in a bit, but they're not going to be able to punish him for it, but they sure as hell punish the rest of the team. Massive kills for them. They use a buyback on the Bane, but in the long run, who cares? A buyback from Bane is not going to sort of factor into the ledgers for them. They took a massive fight. They don't save the tower, but the racks are still up.
Yeah, and I think just being a little bit too cocky there, sitting up on the high ground when you don't have BKBs on your Viper, you don't have any more defensive items really finished on anyone at that point. They were still playing around more or less that Scotty timing on Morphling, and they just kite a little bit too far. Oh, and Jeans, this is Orchid reveal, but...
Another missed hook shot. Yamsun is going to be able to survive here. Has no infest up for 10, however, so this fight is getting very complicated. Boris has already been taken down. Meanwhile, Zero coming in for the swap. That did not put Yamsun into a much better position, however. He will still fall. Devi is going to go down in exchange, but at this point, well, Esk is coming in to clean things up. He's going to be able to take down one. Mr. Jeans will fall, but with his own BKB starting to wear off, he doesn't really want to be here much longer. And he will fall back. The illusion there from Zero is going to be able to sort of serve as the distraction to get everyone away. And, well, I mean, it's a 3-for-2 trade in the favor of D2 Hustlers, but honestly, taking the Storm off the map, getting some money into the hands of the Lina, they won't get the just pure victory based off of numbers, but that fight doesn't go too poorly for the black and yellow side.
No, it's not the worst, and I think this is where we might see Hustlers really check themselves, reset. They don't want to give their opponents too much respect here, but they also need to disallow them from ever leaving the base. I think Boris has really been the linchpin in both of these engagements, able to find some really breakneck stuns and stop the initiation from the Hustler side. Divine Llama is trying his best, but it's just Yudomi and Mr. Jeans have been overextending with their past 2 jumps, and it's the big reason why I think they're now giving a little bit more map to their opponents that I really don't think should be allowed right now, especially because all of these are going in favor of Esk, who was still having a pretty terrible time, but has the crit stick, is making his way towards that silver edge. I think the Shadow Blade just a really good option for him to possibly find the Morphling off guard, as even Yuma is still going for aggressive items. Once he has this Daedalus, Yamsun's game is over. That is the end-all be-all when it comes to this core matchup. It forces him to go some pretty terrible items, but until then, he is still very susceptible to the Lina.
Oh, things are out. They spotted their target. They're going to jump in, but they don't actually hit up Yamsun, so instead, they're in onto the Spirit Breaker. Boris is going to be the one locked down. Nice silence out from Devi, though, onto 2. Neither Zero nor Esk can go in, and Yudomi able to hit with the hook shot. Good swap from Zero, though, trying to get Esk back onto that back line. He is going to be able to survive. He takes down Divine Llama as well. And now this is going to reset, but Boris actually bought back. He's charging his way forward. They're in onto Mr. Jeans. They hit him up with the Net Strike as well. They need the follow-up lockdown, but they don't have it. Mr. Jeans is able to zip away, but now Yuma into the fight. He's hit up, though, by the Fiend Script. Not long enough, though, for his teammates, or his opponents, rather, to bring him down. They do at least get Yadami, but they need these core heroes. Yuma's just going to look to TP away. All the while, Monster living up to his name. On the backside, Boris falls. Jubei dead as well. And I think the Viper will fall for that, yeah. He is going to be taken down. BKB probably wouldn't have saved him either way, as the physical damage was too much, but that one... ET, I think it kind of falls into the category of the last fight as well.
Watch Mr. Jeans.
Oh, he's going for it. He wants in. He's got Zero in his sights. And
he's dead.
Yeah, now how does he get out? Like that.
Oh.
Okay. Zips away. Thought that the LSA was going to be in there with the timing, but they're still chasing. Yeah. Can he zip away? He's going to try. Doesn't get over the cliff. This is a problem. Can he get kicked away? Yes, he can, but There's Zero's illusion again. Mr. Gene's desperately trying to get out, but he's not going to make it. And, well, before it was looking like black and yellow, they suffer the casualties, but they once again get 3 or 4 kills, or 2 or 3 kills into the Lena's hands. That kill on the back end, taking out Mr. Gene's, that pretty definitively, I think, swings it over to the black and yellow side. And really, at a certain point, you can't keep giving Esk this kind of money. He is going to do something with it.
Yeah, and he's got 4.5 in the bank right now. We could see him finish the Daedalus. That's what I would probably like the most out of his items. Could see him go for possibly a blink. He needs to decide on something, however. Even picks up a Fey Grenade, really good item for him. I don't exactly understand the MKB here. It's, of course, a really good damage item when you're right-clicking as fast as he is, but I think it would be much more natural for him to just finish the Daedalus and then go for some other items, but you know, it's Esk. Esk can do whatever Esk wants to do, but I think they really need to take a chill pill on the D2 Hustlers side. They keep on overextending. That was now the first time where Divine Llama overextended in bottom, and of course you're getting buybacks, so the gold lead isn't shifting at all, but it's just momentum and cores off the map that you're continuously giving up, and cores that don't really recover all too well. Unfortunately, black and yellow don't make the move towards that Roche fight. And actually, Boris,
this fight
one more
may
roll.
still happen. No, okay. Black and yellow able to back away. Aegis gonna get picked up there by the Morphling. I think they gave the shard. Who did they give the shard over at this point? Monster has it. So, little bit of a buff up to that power for the D2 Hustler side. We'll see if they can take advantage of it. The last couple of fights have been tough for them. They've still been able to sort of come away with a lot of casualties on the opposing side, but not without having to sacrifice a bit for themselves. So we'll see if they can do it a bit more cleanly this time around with 2 lives up on one of their cores. Meanwhile, Didesk, there we go, finished off the MKB. So this is a bit of a weird one. As you mentioned, the MKB now coming out, but he's still not going back for the Daedalus. He's queued up the Satanic after that. So, I don't know. The aversion to the Daedalus seems a little weird, but if it pays off, if it works out, then more power to him. It's just a little unusual compared to what we normally see.
Yeah, and it could be just saying I want a little bit more attack speed, even though I'm Lena, and I want to do a little bit more piercing damage in case there are items like the butterfly being made by the Morphling. But unfortunately, Yuma is all in on damage. Now Yuma has a full Daedalus, which means that Yamsun's game is kind of over. If Yamsun does not take this fight really slow or doesn't get saved, he is going to get mauled by this Morphling. Morphling is going to become him, they're going to jump him, and Yamsun, okay. He's got to run in a second here. Yeah, he can't finish off that wave. But that's how scared he is right now. If he shows for too long, Yuma becomes him, gets the rage off, and then will eat him. There's nothing he can really do about it. We're still waiting for that big jump coming in from Yudomi, I think. And Boris is doing a really good job of getting in this top lane, but that is the mode that Black and Yellow are in right now. You see all of the cores in the base right now sitting on the high ground because they're terrified of Clockwork Storm Spirit, and yeah, they found him.
That is a nice play from Divine Llama. Rolls in once he hears that the charge is actually being committed, and he doesn't need to hit with the actual Rolling Boulder itself, just needed to get in range for the Yules. That buys time for Mr. Genes to join the fight, and now that split push threat is gone. Boris is on the sidelines for about 40 seconds, so D2 Hustlers could look to make something happen here. Mid looking like the best option for them in terms of what they actually have pushed up, but you see both Yudomi and Monster sort of shading towards that bottom lane. They see the likes of Esk and Zero here. They would very much like to get in onto either of those 2 targets, but by the time they move into position, both of those cores have fallen back. However, if you're Black and Yellow, you're keeping your hero safe, but now you're trapped inside of your own base. Nobody can really afford to leave right now.
Yeah, and Yuma, as soon as backdoor gets ticked out by either the bottom wave or the mid wave, your Rax is going to get immediately hit up. They're being even more patient, though. This is a really good jump, but yeah, Yuma's just going to show the play. There's your Rax gone.
Boris, well, he just finished off the Ags at least.
They go, they glyph for it, but
Wait,
I don't think they want
this
this.
is not good. The Yule Scepter's going to throw Boris up in the air. He's silenced as soon as he lands. He is immediately dead. No buyback available. And now there's going to be the Storm zipping it onto the back line. Yodomi comes in with the hook shot as well. They're connected onto Zero. They'll blow him up. Jubei falls as well. Yamsun already used the Infest, so he really doesn't have anywhere left to go here. He just has to fall back, but that leaves Esk directly in that line of fire. As Mr. Jeans will push forward, they find that kill. Yamsun now getting just chunked down. And he will fall, but Yuma, he does have the Aegis, but he would like to not have to use it here. Shifting towards strength, keeping himself alive. Buybacks now coming in from that black and yellow side on really anyone who still has it. Outside of the Venge, obviously I don't think you want to buy back just yet with your illusion on the field, but without his presence, they're in some serious trouble. Yamsun's going to get jumped in on. They actually managed to turn that around for a kill onto Mr. Jeans, and now the Fiend's Grip locked in Yuma. They'll burn through his Aegis, but I don't think they can get him a second time, especially... yeah, with Yuma really just making plays like that. Waveforms his way forward. Esk will fall. But if you're D2 Hustlers, do you have the strength to keep this push going? As of right now, I think the answer is kind of no. So black and yellow have to commit really everything they have. 3 buybacks used, but maybe they can hold the line. Although Yuma, okay, wow. You are not going to be able to deter him. He's just going at it, looking for that entire middle lane of racks.
They need to get onto the Viper before his BKB comes back up. Otherwise, this is just going to be the game, more or less. They're trying to chain him here.
Okay, charging in. They need that continuous
got
lockdown.
him.
Another strike comes in, and yeah, that's the kill that they needed. I mean, would have been nice to get it before they lose 2 lanes of racks, but better late than never, as Boris is going to charge in. Monster might actually get his TP... what the heck? TP canceled as well, as yeah, Monster is now stuck in here. Yodomi was able to hookshot himself away, but really, the main target is going to be Monster. If they can keep this Viper locked down, that would be big. Yamsun is in this fight, but he's currently fighting by himself. There's going to be Boris, though, charging back in to help out. And now I think black and yellow have an opportunity. Devi, though, not going to let them catch up. Rolling himself into the river. He will get himself out of there, but... well, I don't know. If you're black and yellow, those were big kills, but it cost... what, 3 or 4 of their buybacks, 2 full lanes of racks, lost, they're 22k down, so it was a good play, but it feels like maybe it's a little too late for them.
Yeah, and unfortunately, unlike the first game D2 Hustlers played today, Black and Yellow don't have any of those objectives available to them. D2 Hustlers have simply claimed it all. You're not able to get this mid tower, you're not able to look towards Roche. Yamsun was able to finish off the Satanic, a little bit of a silver lining there, but I think it still plays to the effect where you don't have that big armor item yet. If you had an AC on top of this, maybe I would believe in their game a little bit more, but we're still seeing D2 Hustlers be in the huge net worth lead that they've been able to get, but Devi?
Charge onto Devi. Nice Yule's play. Yamsun's going to pop out, and good swap from Zero, keeping Devi in that fight. Nether Strike is going to lock him down as well, and Zero showing off that Manta style, getting a little bit more damage in with the illusions, and they do manage to find that kill. So I think that's actually the first offensive Infest Bomb we've seen, or for at least the first sort of link up between Yamsun and Boris directly. And well, it nets them a nice kill. Obviously, Devi not the highest net worth hero by any means, but they get the kill, and now they have an opportunity to actually push a tower. That has not really been the case for the last 20, 30 minutes. So they're in there. They got an objective, and they've still got so far to go, but they're at least in a better position now than they were a little while ago, as Boris just going to charge at the creep wave. Thought for a moment he was going after the storm, but doesn't actually have the vision for that.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to D2 Hustlers struggling to play with their lead a little bit. They're so far ahead that I don't think they really need to be afraid of a lot, but they're definitely giving openings to Black and Yellow that I don't think they have any business actually having. And Mr. Jeans, he's looking, he's hunting in the bottom lane, maybe seeing if he can catch Esk off guard, but unfortunately Esk is still really far away from his next big item. The Satanic is most likely not going to be here if they decide to push the high ground pretty soon, but I also feel like D2 Hustlers might just wait for the next Roche. They don't want to throw anything away, as well as some really big item and level timings coming out for their heroes. You've got the Ags and the Storm Spirit. Both cores are 25. Viper will be 25 as well pretty soon here. And Monster is just so farmed on this Viper right now.
Yeah. You've got farm, you've got experience. If we take a look at the actual levels you mentioned, Yuma and Mr. Jean's already there, and Monster pretty damn close. Meanwhile, no level 25 hero on the side of Black and Yellow. They are close with the Lifestealer, 24 and a third, let's call that, but still not quite there yet. So playing from behind a little bit as, okay, Mr. Jeans is going to make the jump. Yamsun, though, able to pop the Rage. He's going to be fine. Satanic was actually activated there, too, just in case. It's a short cooldown. Better safe than sorry in that instance, as Yamsun was able to walk away, but the Storm used mana, and that was really it. He jumps in, just sort of poking and prodding, seeing if Black and Yellow are paying attention defensively, and he can just sort of get right back up there with his teammates and look for another shot at that. So these sort of swings that D2 Hustlers are capable of making don't really come at the cost of a lot of their resources. As you see, Yamsun, once again, just getting sort of annoyed, poked. I'm not really sure the exact phrase, but Hustlers can just do this. They can keep the Lifestealer honest. If he's off the map for too long, then they're just going to basically kind of go looking for him. But Black and Yellow, they're going to look to make a move here. 5-man smoke. They've got the Infest for Boris, so they just need to actually spot out a target here, and then they can try to make this play happen. But I'm not really sure they have a great approach here. And now with the smoke coming out on the other side, this gets so much more complicated.
Yeah, and you're just looking at Mr. Jeans, seeing if he's able to actually find that huge grab. They don't want to start this fight on either the Lifestealer or the Venge, of course, for pretty obvious reasons there. The turn is just a little bit too strong. If they can find this Lina, that would be fantastic. Really get her without the buyback. Still 2 minutes out for her, but they're still losing pretty much the entirety of the map. Udomi was just able to deward their one good ward, and Black and Yellow don't feel comfortable enough to stay on the low ground there, even though they did have a good position. They're just really scared still of D2 Hustlers for a very good reason. You have a full Hex on the Morphling now, so he can start the fight. You have Monster, who is still outputting really more damage than anyone else on his team if the Morphling does end up getting stunned, but nobody is playing with buybacks. If there was ever an opportunity for Black and Yellow, it'd be to catch either the Morphling or the Storm Spirit without any defensive skills available to them. Problem is, Mr. Jeans has a Lincoln Sphere, and your best lockdown really is coming from the Spirit Breaker, so these fights need to go really long. Otherwise, Black and Yellow, they're not going to find the engagement they want, and they're still looking for it. The Lifestealer is still in Boris. They're still looking for this charge play, possibly.
Well, what can their vision really get them right now? They don't see a whole heck of a lot, so Boris kind of has to go looking for it himself. We'll see if they start moving towards that Roche pit. Mr. Jeans is in there, but he's got the Invis Rune to protect him, so it would be risky. At this point, though, I think Black and Yellow may be suspecting that Roche has respawned anyway, but we're not going to see them make that move just yet. But this is where things get really awkward. Boris is sitting here. The Lifestealer is infested inside of him, which means the Lifestealer is not farming. He's just sitting here waiting for his opening. And now we're going to see Black and Yellow push their way forward. But at this point, this is maybe the second or third smoke. They've got to get something going for them now. They will run into Divine Llama, but not in a position where they can actually gank him up. Now they'll make the jump, but there's going to be the jump of the backline with the Aghanim Scepter. He pulls in everyone. And that's it. The fight is pretty much done. They're just going to get wiped out. Mr. Jeans gets 4. Yuma was able to steal the 5th there to prevent the rampage, but I mean, you can't all in on Divine Llama. You've got to know that the Storm Spirit will be zipping onto that backline. I'm not sure they realized that he had the Aghanim Scepter, but what a reveal. If they didn't know before, he pulls in 3, and it's just done at that point. 3 heroes gone, just like that, knocked down one after the other, and their ability to hold the line just disappears.
And not just that, but you also had Yuma with the Spirit Breaker charge going through those targets, making sure that there was absolutely no chance for any of them. But you don't have buyback on your Lina. The game could very well be over in just a few seconds here. They still have the glyph, but they don't have buyback on their Lifestealer as well for another 15 seconds. I think we might just see the game here.
Hidomi hooks in, getting onto 0. Yuma's looking for the damage. Can they bring this one down? The Venge is trying to fight her way through this. Even if she does go down, the illusion will be there, so still in the fight, but at this point, what is there really left for them to work with? They do get the Fiend's Grip down. Boris will charge his way forward. There's the Laguna from Esk, actually, so Mr. Jeans falls. The problem is, yeah, that whole Ancient thing, it was getting hit up by the Morphling the whole time, and D2 Hustlers will take the win anyway.
Yeah, I think at that point, they just said, okay, we probably lost this one. Let's just try and take down as many heroes as we can. What can you do? That's their voice line for a very good reason, but they honestly proved themselves a little bit in that they could definitely make those very intense mid to late game decisions. They were finding a few of those openings. I think a part of it definitely was D2 Hustlers overextending, but At the same time, every single time D2 Hustlers overextended, Black and Yellow could never really find the rebuttal that they wanted to find. They could never find any lasting damage, and it never felt like D2 Hustlers ever lost control of this game. I think throughout the entirety, they were really in the driver's seat, where Black and Yellow, they had some cute plays here and there, but they weren't able to play this tempo lineup that they really needed to play from the draft. They needed to do this from the get-go. They just fell apart a little bit too much in that early to mid game, and Yuma really carried his team through those early stages. He was just the monster. Nobody could deal with him at all.
Yep. Just D2 Hustlers sort of... I don't really know. There's too many cliches firing on all cylinders, all being on the same page, taking advantage of opportunities that their opponents sort of gave them. But at the end of the day, you can throw all those out there, but it really just does come down to D2 Hustlers just straight out played Black and Yellow. And as you said, I think if you're Black and Yellow, you're looking at this and you're thinking, this game went 40 minutes. It probably should have ended 5 to 10 minutes ago, so at least we were able to draw things out to that extent, which is certainly better than just getting straight blown out, but it's a rather small building block. We're going to have to see more from them moving forward, but at least they're going to have that opportunity. D2 Hustlers get the win in Game 1, but there will be a second matchup here between these squads, so we'll have to see what it is Black and Yellow put together for that second game.
Yeah, we can only hope. I don't think that their draft was really necessarily the worst. I just think that with their opener, their first three heroes were a little bit too strange. And I think that at the end of the day, D2 Hustlers with their draft were just kind of able to counterpick you. I wonder what they're going to be able to do if they do end up getting a second pick, if they're going to change up their strategies a little bit, because I do feel like D2 Hustlers, at least strategically, got the upper hand of their opponents in the draft.
Mm-hmm. So the sort of smackdown that they received at the hands of Noteping at the end of that previous series did not really discourage that D2 Hustlers lineup. They come back with a very impressive win here in game number 1. Now looking for a chance to get 3 out of their first 4 games in this group stage run. Game 2 between D2 Hustlers and Black and Yellow will be coming up. D2 Hustlers trying to make it back-to-back wins, while Black and Yellow are hoping for their first points here if they can salvage that 1-1 draw. So with that being said, we are going to be hopping into a bit of a commercial break, but Game 2 will be coming your way in just a couple of minutes. So sit tight, and we'll be hopping back in as soon as we can.